Sometimes when people take pictures, they're not aware of the background content. They're just focused on the subject. And that could be from a lack of experience, or possibly in this case, for a lack of time to do anything other than to take the picture right then at that particular point in time. So what we want to do in this case is we want to clean this picture up. It's a fairly nice picture. The problem is it's somewhat distracting because we have this chimney that's aligned perfectly vertically with the subject, and it's a bit of a distraction. So ideally, I'd like to remove that. Now, we can use a combination of tools, and that's exactly what we're going to do. A lot of times people will use the clone stamp tool, and it's a great tool to remove content like this, especially with a sky with a consistent range of tone. So the problem is when people start using the clone stamp tool and they get to these problem areas where there's a lot of content that could potentially be harmed from those new cloned pixels. How do you deal with a situation like that? Again, it's fairly straightforward. What we're going to do is make a selection. Once we have the selection that we want in place, then we'll use the clone stamp tool. So let's just quickly take a look at how we could do this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is come over and highlight one of my selection tools. I'm just going to go ahead and select the polygonal lasso tool. And then I'm going to zoom into this area here. So I'm going to activate the zoom tool by holding down the space bar and the command key. That'd be space control on Windows. Just click and hold for a second until you zoom into that spot and then let go of the keys on the keyboard. So what I need to do here is I need to select a portion of the roof and the chimney and then come down here and kind of complete that selection. Because this is the problem area. This is where we want to make sure that we have a nice tight selection so we don't ruin any of the pixels that we don't want to ruin. So let's come over here and just select a portion of the roof of the building. And the polygonal lasso tool makes part of this pretty easy because they're nice angles that we're selecting. But then we get to the hat, and now really the lasso tool probably would have been the better tool here, but it doesn't matter. We could use a keyboard shortcut to kind of toggle over to it, but instead I'm just going to finish up this selection. I'm going to come out over here, come down, around, and then come up and complete the selection. So here's the problem. We have the wrong part of the image selected. We need everything but this selected. So what we can do is inverse the selection by going to the Select menu, and under the Select menu, you can choose Inverse. Once you choose Inverse, let's go ahead and reduce the magnification of the image. The keyboard shortcut, it's Space Command Option on the Mac. It would be Spacebar Control Alt on Windows. Just click and hold or click a couple times to kind of zoom out of the image. So now we can see the marching ants all around the image, which means we have everything but this little section selected. So before we start manipulating the pixels to remove this chimney, what I'd like to do is create a new layer to store that new information on. So go ahead and create a new layer by clicking the Create New Layer button in the Layers panel. With that layer as the active layer, come over and choose your Clone Stamp tool. With that tool selected, the important element here, in this drop-down menu, you want the All Layers option selected. Then go ahead and increase your brush size. I'm just holding down the right bracket key on the keyboard. And then we're going to sample a portion of the sky. You can hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt on Windows, and click. That's going to be the sample point. We're going to be copying pixels from that area. Then just click and drag, and we're removing the chimney. Now, it's not uncommon when using the Clone Stamp tool to come over and make a different targeted selection. So over here, I'm going to now sample from these pixels by holding down the Option or Alt key and clicking. Then if you click and drag, you can kind of finish up what you were doing. Let's go ahead and deselect this, Command D or Control D on Windows, and then let's zoom into this hat again. And as we do, we can see that there's some purple pixels that are left over. So we can clean that up now if we zoom in nice and tight. I'm at a fairly large magnification, which will make it a little bit easier. Just hold down the Alt key to sample some of the pixels, and then just quickly go along the edge of his hat, being pretty careful about it. That looks pretty good. Zoom back out using the keyboard combination of Space Command Option on the Mac. It would be Space Control Alt on Windows. Just zoom back out, and we can finish up cloning the sky to get rid of this chimney. So again, I'm going to come back and make sure that the Clone Stamp tool is selected. Increase the brush size. Hold down the Alt key or Option key on the Mac to sample pixels. and then just click and drag. Now, it's not uncommon, again, to move the sampled area somewhere else. We'll come down here, then click and drag to completely get rid of the chimney. Now, this looks pretty good. It was kind of a cloudy day, so that worked in our favor in terms of being able to do this quickly. Sometimes, if you have a brighter sky, you'll see some abnormalities with the tonal range within the sky. And here, if you want to be really picky, you could probably zoom in and maybe find some of those aberrations. But if you do run into that, a quick, easy way to fix it is just to choose your patch tool. With the patch tool, you would select the area that had the weird tonal values, and then you would just click and drag to sample somewhere else, and then it would clean that area up. I'll go ahead and deselect this. So now what we can do is kind of turn off this layer to see the original. That's the original image. This is the image after we remove the chimney. Again, this is something that's pretty common in photography, especially when you're just taking pictures of your family and whatnot, and you're not really aware of your surroundings completely before taking a picture. But that's a quick, easy way to remove content from a photograph.